Aloha Hawaii, this is Pukalai Nui. The time now is 5:30 here in Honolulu, Hawaii. Well, background music is Exotica Don Tiki. And we are inviting people to call in and share their opinions on some of the matters that we have just talked about. And if you would like to call, then we'll take your call and bring you into the program. With that said, we do have a caller, and so I'm going to tune down this music, and then we'll go to our call. And so the caller now hangs up when I'm ready to receive your call. So please call back if you intend to get back on the air, and we'll let you join us. Here we go. Aloha caller, welcome to the program. Caller, you're on the air. Okay, hang on. Yes, hello.
Hello, aloha.
Hi, aloha.
Oh, finally got through. I have been trying to call you on a different landline, basically, coming out of this Sandwich Isles communication. You familiar with them?
Sandwich Isle, is that the one who negotiated a contract with Hawaiian Homes?
Yes.
Okay.
They got terrible service. I mean, I don't know if it's intentionally or not, but you can't seem to get a clear call.
Oh, is that right?
Very, very rare. Yeah. Well, maybe it's purposely being done. I don't know. You on a homestead, huh? You know. So what's been going on, brother? I just got in this afternoon.
Where from?
Oh, I was over in Kaneohe at Heiakea and doing different things there.
Yeah. Well, we've been covering more the national politics, and I've been just going through some of the newspapers. There, in the local side, it was a question of what's her name, Laura Thielen wanted to run as a Democrat.
Ryan, huh?
Yeah, she's in your district, and what's Ryan's first name? Is it?
Pohai.
Pohai Ryan, that's right.
Yeah.
And how do you folks see?
She took Hemmings' spot, yeah?
Yeah, Hemmings did not run again. Was that the case?
Yeah. Hemmings did not run for re-election.
Yeah, was there a Republican who ran against? I think there was one who ran against Pohai, and Pohai won that election. Was that the case?
I can't recall who that was.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah, but Fred...
Maybe Whitney. Is Whitney Anderson still with us?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I better give Whitney one call. He must know who.
But is he from that area, from that district as well?
Whitney lives out in Waimanalo, yeah? He was always in Kailua, yeah?
I see.
Yeah, Waimanalo area, yeah.
Yeah.
So now his son, Ikaika, is on the council.
Oh, that's his son. Okay.
Yeah, that's his son, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but anyway... Yeah, for some reason, like yesterday was Good Friday, and I guess this is better Saturday. I don't know, but I feel so safe of recently. All of these dictators have been taken care of. Marcos, Suharto, Gaddafi, Najibullah of Afghanistan, and of course they took care of Anwar Sadat and put in Mubarak in there, and they took care of Mubarak. And now you got Syria, Assad. He's gone. Yeah.
No, he's still in. Is he gone?
Well, I don't know. Is he? No. You're right. He's still around. Yeah.
He's still around. Muammar Gaddafi, U.S. has taken him out.
Yeah. And then of course
Saddam Hussein.
Saddam, and then we also had Bin Laden.
Yeah.
Of recent, right now on the network is the new name of President Obama. His new name, according to this information that's going out, is Boris Abramov.
Boris Abramov.
Yeah. That's his Russian name.
Oh. Oh, who gave him a Russian name?
you know, I don't know for some reason. Remember ABC had that program 24?
No.
The espionage with what do you call Jack Bauer? You know, how all of he was trying to protect the presidency and the infiltration of all of this Middle East people and what's going on. For some reason, the presidency of today reminds me of that particular television program, which basically was a hit for 2 years, and then all of a sudden it got ripped off. They dumped it.
Okay.
I guess they were getting too close to the truth, so they had.
But if it was, when did they dump it? 2 years ago or more?
About 2 years now. Yeah, it came out. It came out in 2004. Yeah. It ran 2004, 2005, 2006, and then they got slinged out, basically.
Okay, no, I don't remember the program, but it was before Obama's presidency.
Yeah. Keith Donaldson was he was a star on it, yeah? And it was interesting because it was based on 24 hours, yeah?
I see.
And every episode, you had 24 episodes, yeah? And each one was 1 hour, on television, yeah? And it kept you in suspense to the max, I mean.
So what's the basic theme there, and is there a comparison with
Espionage, basically. Internal fraud and deceit to the max. In Washington, in D.C., the district of those criminals, and, you know, the whole works, Congress, all over. I mean, it was in fact, I couldn't believe that they allowed the program to exist. It was so close to the truth.
I see.
You know?
I see.
And I understand it's available on videos, but so, you know, people missed it. You know, you can pick it up and take it up.
Well,
but anyway, I just wanted to call in. I tried to call in on my land phone.
Yeah. And
of the Sandwich Isles thing. I couldn't hear you, but that seems to be
that's interesting. I never heard about that being a problem, that telephone lines being a problem.
Am I the only one? I guess maybe. Maybe I should pay my phone bill, right?
That might help, you know. Or if you're using a cell phone or a phone with a battery in it, as I said many times, make sure your battery is still good.
Well, yeah. Well, I got these cordless, for the landline,
Yes.
You know, and they seem to not last anyway. So, you know, it's not really fair for me to say it. You don't have anybody else having that problem, huh?
Well, none that have been brought to my attention.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, brother, we'll be looking for you tomorrow morning.
Yeah, but before you go, any word about what's happening on the international arena? I know you are a very close associate with Leon Seal, and Leon has been very active there.
Well, you know, Leon came back from Brussels, and basically he went right back out again on past Saturday, because they had that film festival, over in Pasadena, California, and I haven't talked with him since he's been back, But he did mention that there was a lot of headway, basically, because you know, a couple of years ago when Leon and Kaiopua, were following up on the work that you had done all these years, when they would go there, basically, it was almost like that they would have to re-plug in these people to who they are, and why they are here, and they would have to go from the first chapter all the way through and go back. And basically, this were repeating themselves. But it seems, this past 2 years, it seems that these people that are there now, basically, they are asking Leon and Kaiopua, what about this? What about that? It has changed completely. And I think it's because of the information that they're getting, and because of new people are coming on board on the international level as well,
I think another factor is that the U.S. prestige has been lowered, and some would say it's in a collapse, such that these other countries that have been basically bullied by the United States in the international arena is now overcoming the fear, and the U.S. Power to affect them is decreasing, so that you have greater willingness to speak up and to ask the same fundamental questions that they had asked of other countries, now asking the United States, hey, answer this question. Leon had reported, and you were there when you heard him report, that about 2 years ago, I think it was, in the CERD committee. CERD stands for the Committee on the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. But at that time, there was a Russian representative to the committee, and he asked, can the United States answer what happened with Hawaii, and how did Hawaii become a state of the United States of America? And the U.S. sort of sidestepped it, and said essentially that they would take it back and then give a response within 24 hours, the normal protocol which is permitted. And after that, the minutes of that CERD committee meeting did not reflect this question that caused some rumblings within the committee. And and the U.S. was able to escape notice in terms of the formal record. However, many people remembered what was asked and that the United States was supposed to respond. The following year, that Russian representative then became the chairperson of the CERD committee.
Yes.
And he still remembers his question. And
the first question for him again was, what happened?
Yeah, in the Hawaii situation. And so it appears that he's becoming more interested as a chairperson of that committee. His vice chair is also asking and supporting his initiation into this arena, and also asking similar questions. So it's not a split in the committee, but they are inquiring into U.S. practice in Hawaii, and not only in Hawaii, but in Alaska, and they're also wanting to take a look at the Canadian practice with regards to Canadian Indians, or what is called Native Americans in that case. So
I think people, I think they're running out of flashcards or rope or whatever you want to call it. Basically, I think the scam is at a point where you have different people coming in, and they're remembering certain things. And they were originally newcomers. I can't imagine attending these meetings. And you coming in there, and you got all of these people who are dignitaries of these different nations, and what really goes on. And for you just to be there, just to listen to what's going on, it has to be something. You have been there, and you heard it, And now when you come back, now after you seasoned a little, And I understand, as Leon had mentioned to us, basically, that gentleman, and forgive me for not remembering his name, okay? But he's also, he's the master of 11 different languages. That is, just to sit there with somebody that's of that magnitude, it's something. I normally sit with guys who only know 11 words. I mean,
okay.
And we have a long conversation. I mean.
I don't know if it's a reflection on the guy you're speaking with, or on you having a long conversation with 11 words.
No, excluding you, but
oh, thank you.
Okay, my friend.
Okay, thanks for calling.
I'll talk to you tomorrow morning.
All right, take care.
Aloha. God bless.
And if you would like to call, our telephone number is 524-1080. Let's go to our next caller. Aloha, caller. Welcome to the program. Hello, caller. You're on the air.
Aloha, Puka.
Hi, aloha.
What's interesting, a few nights ago I was watching Democracy Now! And Amy Goodman on her program was interviewing this gentleman that has just written a book concerning Aung Suu Kyi.
Aung San
Burma.
Suu Kyi, yes.
And it's something about a peacock is the title of the book. And was very interesting. Two points that he made that I found very, very interesting. One was that supposedly when England came in and overtook Burma, they didn't like the name of Myanmar. So that was the original name. And so now whoever went and changed it to Myanmar was to emphasize to people it's no longer run by the British that enjoyed the name Burma. So that I found very interesting.
Yeah,
that the original name is Myanmar. And then another thing that I found interesting was that the comparison between Aung Suu Kyi and Mandela of South Africa. They were both in similar circumstances. The only distinction was that Mandela was arrested and jailed.
Okay.
Aung Suu Kyi was self-proclaimed.
What do you mean self-proclaimed?
It was like something. It wasn't like she was purposely
jailed.
imprisoned.
Oh no,
So
no,
that
that's
was
not.
the 2 points that I found very, very interesting.
Yeah.
About the circumstances in Burma.
Yeah, I don't think your last statement is accurate. Aung San Suu Kyi was actually a candidate for presidency of Burma. And she won the election by all counts, and there's no disagreement about it. And then the military junta had her arrested and imprisoned. So it's very clear that she had won the election and that she was forced into imprisonment.
I think
house arrest.
This latest bit possibly is what you're saying, but I believe.
Well, this occurred about 20 years ago, you know.
Yeah, she was originally living in attending Oxford.
Yes.
And, she got married, had 2 children there in England, and then she supposedly returned to her country of Burma to help out with her mom that was ill. And I believe at that time she decided to help out her mom. And according to this gentleman was that at that time Burma would have preferred her leaving, but then they wouldn't have allowed her back into her own country.
Right.
So she began to stay and stay and stay. But that was that part of the history. So that's all I wanted to say was I'm going to try to find the book and read it myself and find out more about it.
Okay, good. Thank you very much for your...
I thank you very much. Mahalo.
Hi, aloha. And at least let me explain my version of the situation. You see, I had some familiarity with what was happening in Burma, having been the political representative of what was called the ethnic nationalities who were fighting against the Rangoon regime, which is what we term as a Rangoon regime. And this was back in about 1985, 86, 87, all the way up to 1990. And this was representing one organization was called the DAB, the Democratic Alliance of Burma. And these were essentially what has been called the ethnic nationalities and their governments and their armies that they had created along the borders and sort of outside of Rangoon, because they were protesting the government's actions that overthrew the central government. If you go back to about 1946, maybe 1948, the British could no longer extend its empire arm all the way to Burma and into, let's take the Pacific, for example, and in other areas. So they began to move out, including India, and they sort of, quote, gave these people their independence. Actually, they already should have had the right to self-determination. The British moved out, and what they did was they left in place the bureaucracy that they had created. In Burma, you had excellent education. The University of Rangoon was a very highly respected university, turning out many scholars. English was spoken in Burma, and it is still spoken to a large extent in Burma. But what had happened was that it was the Burmese people who formed the majority of the multiplicity of nationalities within Burma, who then, because they were in the bureaucracy, were the ones who were actually operating the government. There was an agreement and there was a constitution that was signed to create a federation so that you would have the autonomy of all of the different peoples of this place called Burma, including the Burmese. You had the Shan, the Karen, the Red Karen, the Shaw, and there was many different what is called ethnic nationalities in this area. And there was an agreement that they would hold elections, and each of the parties would have a representation within the central government. A person ran for office and was elected in a contest, a democratically conducted contest. And it was either that person or the subsequent president of Burma, who in this case was the father of Aung San Suu Kyi. And the government then stepped in, one of the generals stepped in, took over the government, killed the father, and began the military control over Burma. And I believe one of the consequences is that Aung San Suu Kyi eventually left Burma and got an education in England, got married, and had children there. So there was a continuing oppression in Burma by the Burmese, not only against the ethnic nationalities, but against the Burmese themselves. So in essence, it was Burmese, it was a Burmese sort of oligarchy of military persons. And we had a number of visitors come to Hawaii, and they were from these what is that? Sort of rebel organizations. They did not go along with the government. They resisted. And still to this day, you have the continuing resistance in the mountain areas, the areas along the border between Thailand and Burma. When I went into Burma, I went through that particular border, traveling from Thailand, crossing over the river, and visiting and consulting with some of the generals and other representatives of these ethnic nationalities. I believe the Karens are still in a battle, and I became very close associate with a person who had been one of the leaders of one of the Karen army, and she accompanied me when I went to the United Nations and addressed the General Assembly back in 1990, I believe it was 1993, and the situation that indigenous people saw throughout the world. At that time, I was speaking for the Pacific Asia Council of Indigenous Peoples, but having had the experience of representing the World Council of Indigenous People. And so this person also joined me at the podium there. And as I spoke directly about the situation in Burma and what was happening there. So I have some familiarity. At that time, or back in the 1980s, the late 80s, the campaign had not been completed. Aung San Suu Kyi had just been elected. In fact, when I was in country, there was some discussion about her election and whether or not she really understood the relationship that her dad had and how her dad was overthrown and the role of indigenous communities. So it's, even at this point, a very fluid situation that is going on in Burma. With regards to the name Burma as opposed to the name Myanmar, Myanmar is a word for this place in Burma. But remember that Burma itself, I believe, was actually cut up by the British, and they named it Burma after the primary group of people there. Myanmar is not a make-up name. It has historical relevance there. But part of the reason, as far as I could see, why there was an insistence in about 1992, 93, 94, that you use a changed name, in part it was to sidestep the recall of the atrocities that were occurring in Burma. And then some of the stories, and this is the part that a lot of people do not fully appreciate, the historical details. We were using the platform of the development of an international statement or declaration on the rights of indigenous peoples. And in order to develop that declaration, what the United Nations Special Committee on Indigenous Populations, it was called first, and then they changed the name to peoples. What they were trying to do was, half of the time, take a look at what the situation was among indigenous peoples, what kind of violation to their rights they were undergoing. And the second portion of that, those sessions was to now let us construct statements as to what are the rights in view of what is happening on the ground. A lot of people felt that this was an opportunity to get to an international arena to begin to present their cause, their case, their violations to an international arena. And so when I initially became involved in becoming more active in the international arena, and that was back in 1980, about 83, 84, when I was a trustee with the Office of Hawaiian Affairs here in Hawaii. And I wanted to bring the case of Hawaii, and the case not only for the recognition of the integrity of the Native Hawaiian people, but the recognition of the Hawaiian nationals too, self-determination. And so that was my process, and then I became, quite soon after that, the political spokesperson for a larger organization of the World Council of Indigenous Peoples. So part of my effort was to raise the issue of Hawaii and the invasion back in 1893, etc. And so I had an opportunity to make these representations at the Working Group on Indigenous Populations. But because it was my responsibility also to be the political spokesperson for the whole organization, and this was worldwide, well, at least 5 major arenas of the world in which you had indigenous people in, naturally I could not only speak about the Hawaii case. And so I was able to speak on behalf of the South and Central Americans, the North Americans, Scandinavia, as well as the Pacific. But the Pacific did not include at that time Asia. And so I tried to expand the scope of discussion to include Asians into that discussion. And as a result, I became more familiar with the situation in Burma, in Taiwan, in where else? Sri Lanka, in India, and in other places. I note that time is passing by, and this program is almost coming to an end. Perhaps we can discuss more of this tomorrow morning. I will be on the radio from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock, and maybe bring together more fully what has been happening and what is now happening in the international arena. My main point is that while we look at a document that is the Declaration of Rights of Indigenous People passed by the United Nations, many things occurred in the preparation of that document, including the deaths of people who were somehow able to have their voices heard and then killed off as they went back to country, from Africa as well as from Asia and many other places. Okay, no sense trying to squeeze so much into a minute that it will not take. So let's go to some music.
Kaulana na pua o Hawaii, Kupa ama hope o ka aina, Iki mai ka elele o ka loko ino, Pala pala anunu me ka pata.